Good day, fellow investors. Welcome to Arabian Property Pulse, your weekly podcast dedicated to the real estate market in the Middle East. Fueled by coffee and powered by our sponsor, Nelson Park Property, I'm your host, Jeffrey Asselstine.
Hello again, this is Jeffrey from Arabian Property Pulse. Great to be doing episodes again after a little bit of a break. My goal is that this podcast goes out weekly, so I need to get back in the flow and make that start happening again much better than what I've done the last few weeks. So thanks for your patience and welcome back and glad you're with me. So what happened the last few weeks is of great importance. It's the visit of the American President Donald Trump he started off his visit in Riyadh, followed by Qatar, and then in the United Arab Emirates. This was a historic visit with lots of new business signed. And so I've had quite a few people say to me, so Jeff, as a Canadian living in the Middle East, what are your thoughts on the visit? And so I thought I'd do a little quick podcast, give you my quick thoughts and a few bullet points of what it means, not just for the region, but particularly about real estate in the region. So again, I mentioned I'm Canadian. By accent, you might think I'm American, but I am Canadian. And what I always believed, not just as a Canadian, but as a citizen really of the world, that good relations with the United States is never a bad thing. They are still by far and away the largest economic power globally. And with the amount of business deals that were done in the region over the last few weeks, I think that's a really, really positive sign for relations globally, and a good feel-good factor for relations with the region, with the United States, and other things that are going on. So, how does it affect the real estate? Well, if we look at the actual visits, now a lot of times there's big numbers, over $2 trillion in deals. 600 billion from Saudi Arabia, 1.2 trillion in Qatar, and 200 billion in the UAE. Obviously, these deals are all pre-cooked. They would have been agreed long before the visits, and then the visits are used as a showcase to describe the deals, let people know about them, and really create the buzz during the visits. But again, these are substantial investments expected to fund large-scale real estate projects across the region. Again, never a bad thing when you have those kind of deals signed and showing confidence for the region, confidence from the powers that be across the region as well, looking to invest in the U.S. and U.S. products. I'm not going to get into the politics of Trump-branded projects with the fact that he is also the president. Obviously, there is some kind of separation between the leader of the country and the Trump organization. Again, I'm not going to get into it, but I still think I really have a strong belief it's a positive thing that when projects that are developed with his family's brand, which is a globally recognized strong brand, projects in Riyadh and Jeddah. There's projects in Oman, although we didn't visit Oman. There's the Trump International projects with Dar Global. There's projects that have just been announced in Dubai, and also a huge project that was announced in Qatar. And I think as someone that spends a lot of his time in Qatar, I was really surprised a few weeks ago when that was mentioned. Sadly, I was out of the country, so I didn't get a chance to meet Eric Trump, but to see that commitment from Qatari investors into large projects in Qatar with the Trump brand is a really, really positive thing. I won't claim to be a huge expert on AI, but I think that the agreement to allow U.S. companies like NVIDIA to sell AI chips to Gulf countries and plans to establish large AI data centers, indicating a push towards smart cities. Again, very, very positive thing. Such technological advancements are expected to influence the design development of future projects, integrating smart infrastructure, sustainable solutions, and all other items around that. So I think it's going to have a big impact on real estate projects going forward and make them more sustainable, more efficient, and as well away from the real estate projects. The fact that there'll be large data centers and investing in this type of technology and greater strength in the AI field is a real positive. I tend to stay away from politics, as everyone knows, but I do think in some serious interim government will open up new markets. Again, I'm sure we're all praying for peace everywhere for that matter, but particularly in the region, and peace in the specific case of Syria, that allows people there to have more freedom of movement, and allow them to rebuild their lives after horrific times over the last number of years. And so I think the fact that those relationships are being strengthened again within the region and with the United States, always a positive thing. And the last thing is, I'm kind of highlighting this with all the points, But strengthened U.S., and Gulf economic ties will always encourage real estate growth. When we see investments going both ways, it reinforces economic partnerships between the U.S. and Gulf nations, leads to increased confidence among investors, particularly U.S.-based investors. So in quick summary, I think the visit by the President of the United States to the region is extremely positive on many fronts, both politically, economically, and whenever we see stability and good relations, that's always positive for real estate. Happy investing, and talk to you soon.
Hopefully that gave you something to think about. Enjoy your week, and if you need assistance with any of your real estate needs, get in touch with Nelson Park Property at nelsonparkproperty.com.